PvM in RuneScape is a very complex thing, and there's so many different mechanics that you can do and things you can take advantage of. So in this video, we're going to go through some tips, things that you will want to know about, and you can apply to your PvMing to hopefully get some benefits out of it. With that being said, hopefully you find the video useful, and let's go. First up, we're going to be talking about adrenaline potions. Now, during a boss, you are going to want to have an adrenaline potion with you. The absolute best option you can have is an Adren Renewal. To make these, you need level 115 Herblore. However, so long as you're not an Iron Man, you can actually make these a lot sooner. You can make these at level 87 Herblore because you are able to actually make the super adrenaline potions that is needed and then have another player assist you in making the Adren Renewals. As long as they have the requirements to do this, you will still be able to make it. These are assistable, whereas many of the potions aren't. So if you have the level 87 Herblore to actually make super adrenaline potions, it may be worth spending that little bit of extra GP and getting a friend to help you out to get the benefits from the renewals. You will definitely notice a big difference from these. Devotion is an ability that you can use to block all incoming damage from the combat style that you are praying protection against. However, you can use this to also allow yourself to use resonance on another combat style that you're getting hit with. So, for example, in this clip you're seeing on screen, I'm getting hit by the golems that are doing melee damage to me, but I want to be able to use resonance to heal from the typeless damage I'm going to take when I walk into the font at Telos. However, if I just use resonance, then the golems hitting me are going to cause that resonance to be stolen. But if I use devotion and protect from melee, which the golems are hitting me with, my resonance is not going to be used up, and so I will be able to use it and then walk into the font to make sure I heal off of this. This can definitely be useful in a lot of other places, but it's not just for using resonance to heal. You can use it to block things like in the Ambassador with the explosions and many other things as well. Many people know that having overloads gives you the benefit of being able to use sourdough in brews as a replacement for regular food in combat. The benefits for using sourdough in brews is that you don't lose any adrenaline when you use them, but they also give you the most healing per inventory slot that you can get. Every time you sip one of these, you will get 1000 health back. However, there is a downside to using these, yes, even if you're using overloads. Even when you're overloaded and you drink a sourdough in brew, you are going to lose some of your combat stats. Anything except defense is going to get drained for each amount of sip that you take. This is only temporary, as of course the overloads are going to restore them, but the overload only reapplies every 15 seconds. So this is definitely worth keeping in mind for when you have maybe a DPS check coming up in a fight. You don't want to be drinking brews before you go to that DPS check because you're going to have 15 seconds at the most before those stats reset and reapply. As an example, if you drink brews before you need to do a DPS check somewhere, you're going to be doing less damage for up to 15 seconds, and this absolutely could cost you the kill. Something you could do is either drink a super restore potion after drinking the brews, and this will restore them to the normal levels, or you could just focus on using things like a blubber jellyfish instead of the brews in this timing, just to make sure that you don't drain your stats too much. So consider this if you're wondering why you can't quite do as much DPS. Are you maybe sipping down quite a lot of brews in comparison to other people? If so, this could be your issue. For quite a while now, Surge, Bladed Dive, and Escape have all been able to be used off of global cooldown. What this means is if you use an ability, you can still use Surge, Bladed Dive, and Escape whenever you want to. You don't have to wait for the global cooldown to come back for you to use them. In fact, this is actually super useful in PvM in combat for with bosses and stuff to deal with certain mechanics, and you should try your best to actually use them off of global cooldown if you can, especially in terms of keeping up DPS. Now, don't get me wrong, sometimes it will be beneficial to use this on the global cooldown so you can use it and gain a little bit of adrenaline, assuming you're not using the mobile perk, but ensuring to use these off of the global cooldown will allow you to continue using your normal combat abilities that deal damage every single chance you get. You're not using one of those to not deal any damage with Surge or Bladed Dive or normal dive, and so you can continue dealing damage, keeping your DPS a little bit higher. For example, if you hit a boss with the basic necromancy attack and deal some damage, then wait for the global cooldown, then Surge, you're then going to have to wait for the global cooldown again before you can do any more damage. If you just make sure you use an ability, then Surge immediately after or at the same time, you're able to then use an ability the second you arrive on the next global cooldown. Another quite niche but useful thing that you can do is actually stack resonance and reflect to return damage, but also heal from that damage as well. This is useful in places like the Arc Glacier where you get hit pretty damn hard from his cannon mechanic. You can use resonance to make sure you heal from the big damage hit, but then you can also use reflect to return that damage that you would have taken back to the boss as well. As you can see here, the boss took a big damage reflect hit, which is huge. I was using resonance and I was healing on the cannon and he still took damage. pretty juicy. You can also use this at places like Serio and the Dragon Breath, and really anywhere else that you're going to take a big hit. Something a lot of players don't actually know is the defensibility immortality, which does require a shield, actually reduces incoming damage that you take by 25%, as well as bringing you back to life. Most people think this is just an ability that you cast, and then when you die, you come back to life, which is absolutely what it does. But for the 30-second duration that this actually is active for when you cast it, you will take 25% less damage as well. I use this quite a lot at Karapak in hard mode if I'm like no fooding the end of it. You may as well throw out immortality as well and keep that buff for the 30 seconds. Even if you do end up dying, you come back with health, right? But even if you don't, 25% reduced damage on top of things like Animate Dead or whatever and Crypt Bloom, or even the mischance of Necromancy, you're reducing a lot of damage. This could be useful in some places if you're like, wait, what the frick, where did my food go? And you need to panic and pull something off that's a little bit clutch. Keep this in mind, the extra reduction is pretty damn good. So this next tip is pretty high level, but it is absolutely worth the time when you do manage to get to it. If you can get yourself the Conservation of Energy Relic, which again is going to be a high level, it's level 118 Archaeology, but also the Ring of Vigor as a passive effect after completing the quest Extinction, having both of these active will mean that you can hold on to 20% of your adrenaline when you cast an ultimate ability. This applies to even the ones that you cast from the Zook Cape, which also reduces the adrenaline of those. So if you're using things like the Death Skulls ability, as well as having the Zook Cape for Necromancy, you will only be originally charged 60% adrenaline. However, because these still count as ultimates, you will actually then save a further 20% adrenaline, and this will only cost you 40% adrenaline to use. The same goes for the other combat styles as well. Using the Zup Cape, you can get the extra benefits from that too, and all the ultimates are only going to cost you the 40% adrenaline. So not only are you going to be able to save 20% when you use things like Sunshine or Living Death or Death Swiftness and whatnot, these other abilities also cost you so much less than they would in the past. And then of course there's other benefits to having the passive Ring of Vigor too. For example, every time you cast a weapon special attack, it's going to cost you less adrenaline for that too, because it affects every single special attack in the game. If you're dealing with any mechanics that mean you can't attack a boss and you just kind of stood around waiting, you can actually use basic defense abilities to be able to gain some adrenaline still, even if you're not attacking the boss. For example, if you use Anticipate, Freedom, Resonance, or even Provoke on a boss, for example, Araxi, when he's using the web attack, you will still increase your adrenaline. So it's something you can do while you're waiting to still gain a little bit of benefit. Obviously, gaining yourself some adrenaline in this downtime still gives you the chance to maybe throw off an extra threshold, get a bit of extra damage out along the lines, and so it's definitely worth doing. On the Lunar Spellbook, you have access to something called Heal Other or Heal Group. These can be really useful for helping allies in a boss fight stay alive, and at some bosses it is actually used quite a lot and is super efficient to do. But there is a little bit of a downside to this. The person who casts Heal Other on someone else in their team is actually going to cut their own health to be able to heal that person. This is a bit of an issue, but if you use Barricade before casting this, you will actually take no damage whatsoever, and you can cast this as many times as you want. So if you are in a group and you have people that are low health and you have a good opportunity to barricade and healing everybody up will be useful, you can use Barricade and then cast Heal Other on everybody else in the group and heal them all up nicely at no health cost of yourself. Another way that people take advantage of the Heal Other spell is if you know that soon you can take a big resonance hit to heal yourself up, you can cast Heal Other on someone else and then resonance that hit to heal yourself straight afterwards, basically balancing out the fact, and you both get to heal up. A lot of bosses you can take advantage of Soul Split even if the target is immune. A good example of this is at Zook, whereas during the waves, if you attack Zook, it just says that he is immune. However, if you can trap one of the actual random trash mobs during one of the waves and it's not a hidden you can just stand and Soul Split off of Zook and heal yourself up if you need to. If you're struggling on food in a fight and you're like, I may not actually get through this whole thing because I'm using too much food this time for some reason, I made a mistake here and there, at the end of a wave, just trap one of the enemy mobs and just go over to Zook, turn Soul Split on, and do damage to him. This works because Soul Split actually heals you based on the amount that you would have dealt before the number is actually worked out. This means that even though Zook is immune, it thinks that, hey, you would have dealt this much damage, and so it still heals you for that much. It is also worth mentioning that lots of small hits will heal you more with Soul Split. So for example, using bleeds on Zook in this situation will actually heal you quicker than if you threw out thresholds. So use as many bleeds as you can, and then basic abilities, probably your best bet. there you go, 10 things that you couldn't take advantage of in PvM. Hopefully you found this useful, guys. If you did, make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Channel members, thank you for your continued support. You guys are freaking awesome. I appreciate every single one of you. Thank you, guys. But other than that, I'll catch you all in the next one. See you later, guys. Bye.